أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. So far we discussed tahur, tahir, but now we get to the third type of water, which is najis. Najis, the muallif here gives certain methods how something can become najis. So I try to number these just for the benefit of the tullab ilm. So we have 3 here, inshallah. Tayyib, before we get into the matan, I will just revise a little bit from the yesterday's dars, just to make sure we're all clear. Tayyib, if something changes lawnuhu or ta'amuhu or rihuhu, if something changes its color, taste or smell, but due to something that is tahir, that is pure, not tahur, because tahur is only water. Other than water, there is no tahur, except for fima ma'inahu, like thurab. But when we talk about changing these sifat with something tahir, that renders less than qullatayn, and we talked about more than qullatayn, all of that. And if it changes the name of that entity and is done fi'lan, not on its own, like algae or seawater being salty or so on, then that makes it tahir and not tahur. Here now we get into amma taghayyar bin najasa, something that changes due to najasa. Tayyib? So now we get into a different issue. Unlike earlier, when we were talking about taking a bucket of water and putting something like beans in it and cooking it into bean soup, we're talking about, for example, a bowl of water. Now, what is kathir and what is qalil? This should be like ABCs to you guys now, right? Which is qullatayn and more is kathir. Qullatayn, when it doesn't reach the amount that's called qullatayn, anything less than that, that is qalil. Tayyib. So now the muallif says that anything that is added to water that changes it from taghayyir. Tayyib, what can change? What sifat of water can change? 3 sifat, right? There's all lawn, the color, rih, the smell, ta'am, the taste. So if something najis changes it now, so let's go back to kathir and qalil. If it is qalil, right, it's less than qullatayn, and something najis changes its sifat, it becomes najis ijma'an. Tayyib, ijma'an, consensus. Tayyib. If it's, now here the mas'ala we're discussing is when it changes, but I'm going to expand to that a little bit. Tayyib. If something is kathir, more than qullatayn, and the addition changes it, tayyib, more than qullatayn, but it actually changes it, ijma'an, it becomes najis. Tayyib. If it is qalil or kathir, and there is najasa that goes in it that doesn't change it. Tayyib. If it's kathir and the najasa does not change its sifat, right, then ijma'an it does not become najis. What happens to it? It stays tahur. There is no tahir when dealing with najis. What does that? Give me an example of that. It's easy. Let's say you go out to to Arrowhead Lake Arrowhead, whatever, right? And Lake Arrowhead is big, much more than qullatayn. And over there, somebody defecates on a side, some people, right? Or a dog or something like this. Does that mean all of Lake Arrowhead is now najis? No, where are you going to get your bottled water from, right? So Lake Arrowhead, because it's so big and the sifat of the lake do not change, it stays tahur. طيب, the only khilaf, these three that I've mentioned, ijma'an, the khilaf. If it's qaleel and the najasa does not change its sifat, then according to the Jumhur al-Ulama and the madhab here, as the Muallif has mentioned, is it still becomes najis. Because qaleel bimulaqat, yani, or with the meeting of something najis. The only khilaf is the Malikiyah. The Malikiyah, they took a different view on this. And just to, because this is inshallah advanced students, it's just to expand the horizons of our study. Why? Because the dalil that we get into, and inshallah this is the next line, so khalas, I'll wait for the next line to explain the dalil here. But
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله اللهم اغفر لنا ولشيخنا ولجميع المسلمين. قال المؤلف رحمه الله: والنجس ما تغير بنجاسة أو لاقاها وهو يسير أو انفصل عن محل نجاسة قبل زوالها.
طيب, so now we get into three. Everybody should write this, right? So one form of something becoming najis, ما تغير بنجاسة. طيب, دون القليل والكثير, يعني this is not irrespective of being qalil or kathir. So if you go to Lake Arrowhead and you dump enough sewage in there that it changes one of or more than one of the sifat of the lake, then all of the lake becomes najis. Now, if you, on the other hand, if you take a bowl of water and even if a drop of najasa falls in it and it changes that bowl of water, less than qullatayn, it becomes najis. These two that we've discussed in this part, ijma'an, by consensus of the ummah. There are adillah from ahadith as well, but when you have ijma', and Ibn Mundhir and others have recorded the ijma' on this, Imam Shafi'i and others, Ibn Hazm and others. So, khalas, Al-Mughni has also mentioned it, Ibn Qudama and other, Al-Nabawi and others as well. Tayyib. The next, number two, أو لقاها, يعني if it touches or mixes وهو يسير. Tayyib. Now, the second one is a little bit different from the first one. The second one is just an introduction of najasa, but this is only for qalil. Yasir here meaning qalil. What does that mean? Aqal min qullatayn, less than qullatayn. Okay? So, I gave you the breakdown already, but this is now where you have some khilaf. And we'll discuss what is the dalil for this. Because it's not ijma' on this issue, unless there is taghayyur, but taghayyur we already covered. Tayyib, the dalil, there are many adillah, but I will just mention one of them. الدليل إذا بلغ الماء قلتين فلم ينجسه شيء. طيب, استدلالا من هذه الحديث إذا الماء أقل من قلتين ينجس بأي شيء من النجاسة. طيب, I'll translate all of that. So the hadith, authentic hadith, we've discussed it many a times, the authenticity of it, which is that if water reaches the amount of qullatayn, that's considered qullatayn, then it does not become najis by anything. طيب. Now, إلا تغير الماء يعني لونه طعمه وريحه هذا يعني مسألة أخرى. طيب. So from this hadith, that means that any small thing that does not change its sifat, does not make something more than qullatayn najis. So if you take that to be true, then istidlalan from this hadith, if it's less than qullatayn, then any shay, any small amount of najasa should make it najis. Tayyib. But this one, you could debate this one, because you could say it's not sarihan. Tayyib. We'll give you another dalil. فحديث أخرج إمام مسلم في صحيحه صحيح مسلم فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم طهور إناء أحدكم إذا ولغ فيه الكلب أن يغسله 7 مرات وفي الرواية أولهن بالتراب. So here is the hadith, we mentioned it repeatedly, which is that the cleansing for the bowl of one of you, if a dog licks it or salivates in it, is to wash it 7 times. In the riwayah from Sahih Muslim as well, Imam Muslim has many riwayat of it. One of them mentions that you pour out its contents, meaning if there is water or whatever else is in it, if it gets licked, it gets poured out. Tayyib. Now, here we say that if the sifat of that water have not changed, and just the introduction of najasa didn't make it najis, then you could not pour out the water, because that water would be tahur or tahir if you want to go down that path, even though tahir doesn't come with najasat. But tayyib, even if you took that, it would be haram on you to make israf and waste the water. So when Rasulullah ﷺ ordered that the contents of the bowl be poured out, then that means that became najis. And if a dog just licks a bowl, and in the wording of the hadith, there is no taghayyir, there is no change in the color, taste, or smell. Meaning, qullatayn is a big amount. Even if you have a big bowl, right, a big pot like the big ones that you cook in, that are still less than qullatayn, and a dog just happens to lap his tongue at it, it's not going to change the taste, it's not going to change the color, it's not going to change the smell. But all of that becomes najis based on this sarih, yani clear, evident, sahih hadith from a Sahih Muslim. Tayyib. Why did the Malikiya take a different view? I read some of the adillah they presented as well. The Malikiya said the walagh al-kalb is not najis. It's kind of an interesting view. The other 3 madahib, the Hanafiya, the Shawafi', the Hanabila, they said it's najis, clear hadith. The Malikiya said that yes, you still wash the bowl 7 times, but this is ubudiyya, this is just a worship that you do as an obedience to Rasulullah sallam, laysa min bab al-najasa. Tayyib, why? What is the dalil? They gave their adillah. I mean, some people say we follow dalil. Everybody has dalil. But whose dalil is rajih, whose dalil is sarih, that's a different issue. They said, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba used to hunt, and they used to use hunting dogs, and that's true. And what they would do, they would hunt, and the dog would then retrieve the animal to them. So they said, when the dog retrieves the animal, no doubt the saliva of the dog touches the animal. And then we eat the animal. And there is no hadith that necessitates that a hunting dog, if it touches an animal, that you have to wash it. So that means the saliva of the dog is not najis. But this is ba'id. It's it's a far stretch. And that's why many of the Malikiyah even went against this hukam. And Ibn Abdul Barr and others that discussed this in great detail. I'm not going to get into all of that here. But why is this ba'id? Because first thing, when you hunt and the animal brings, your dog brings back the hunted bird or whatever it was that you hunted back, you don't just take it raw and bite into it, right? You take a bird, you defeather it, you wash it, you sometimes skin it, you clean it, then you cook it. So it's not like you just take it and you bite into it so that you could say, it's not like an apple or a banana or something. Banana, you peel it too, right? So the point here is that there was no need for Rasulullah ﷺ to give that instruction, because that already happens. You take it, you wash it, you clean it, you don't just take it and eat it. Secondly, Adam al-Khabar, if we don't have a certain instruction given, doesn't mean thubutiha. This is usul al-fiqh, I don't want to go too deep. But if Rasulullah didn't mention something, it doesn't mean that he definitely meant the opposite. Because here you have a sarih dalil to the opposite of it. You have a clear dalil that mentions you have to make a cleansing, tuhur, right? Tuhur is a cleansing you do for najasa. In the Sharia, tuhur is the fi'l, is the action. Tahur is the type of water. Tuhur is the action. Has to be for najasa. So here you have a sarih dalil that it is najis. And the dalil of the Malikiyya is mubham, it is not clear So what is rajih is what the Imma Thalatha took and the Jamhur al-Ulama. So what does that now from these ahadith, this is established that if it's less than qullatayn and any najasa is introduced to it, then even if it doesn't change its sifat, that becomes najis. طيب واضح clear طيب. The third method given here أو انفصل من محل النجاسة قبل زوالها, or it leaves it from the place that is najis before the najasa is gone. What does that mean? طيب, let's say you have tahur water, purifying, clean, clear, wonderful water. And then you have for example, let's say a little girl, a little baby girl that you have, you're holding, and she poops on your thawb. Right? Or a little baby boy, doesn't matter with poop. Now you take water to wash off that najasa. When you're washing that najasa, the water that touches, can you mute somebody? So the water that touches that place and rolls off, obviously having dealt with najasa, that becomes najis. Is that clear? Or not clear? Okay. Tayyib. So you have a thawb that some najasa gets on. Tayyib. And you take water to wash off that najasa. The water that now touches that najasa, taking that najasa off, now that it has been used in contact with that najasa, once it's off, once it's rolled off your thawb, now that water is najis. Right? That would have been clear even from the earlier point because it met with najasa, right? It came in contact with najasa. But why did the muallif here separate the points? Because let's say, for example, you're going to do 7 washings. A dog licks your thawb. You're going to do 7 washings. You wash the first time, the saliva of the dog's gone. You do a good washing. But shari'an, you have to do 6 more now. The first should have been with turab, right? Now, on the second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth until the last one, the seventh, until the seventh one, until the sixth, now, does that water come into contact with najasa? No. What's the hukam on that water? Najis. Why? Because in the Sharia, we have hukmun najasa. We have the order or the ruling of najasa. So if that makan doesn't have najasa ayniya, that is the ayn al-najasa, the actual physical najasa itself, but it does have the hukum of najasa. So Sharia, you have to take the hukum. You cannot just say, oh yeah, I washed it once, a dog licked you, I washed it once, I'm good. Dog saliva is gone. No, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained the action, tuhur of the najasa is sab'a ghasalat, right? So that means that water that touches the place of that was najis and rolls off, even if it's hukman, that water is najis except the last one. Why the last one? Because the last one did not actually go, when you put the last one, now the hukam was that is tahir, so that becomes tahir, even if not tahur, and with the mu'tamid of the madhab, when we discusses that and the adillah for it in the last dars. Tayyib. So we talked about the 3 methods of something becoming najis and their adillah. Let's go to the next line.
فإن أضيف إلى الماء النجس طهور كثير غير تراب ونحوه أو زال تغير النجس الكثير بنفسه أو نزح منه فبقي بعده كثير غير متغير طهورا.
Now that we discussed what makes water najis, the muallif rahmatullah alayh is also talking about what allows us to make najis water back to tahur. How do you fix the situation? You have a lot of water. How are you going to fix it? Let's say somebody dumps sewage in Lake Arrowhead and they make it all najis. Now you want to make it, you want to treat it, you need the water, right? More importantly, for smaller amounts of water in countries where water is an issue. So here the muallif also mentions 3 methods. And again, you should number these so that you can learn it easier, inshallah. 3 methods of how you can take water back to tahur from being najis. طيب. أولا, the first is if you add to najis water tahur kathir. Yani, let's say you have a bucket of water. طيب. And you add to it a large amount of clean water, tahur, cleansing water, purifying water. So what happens if the najasa had not made taghayyir, right? Let's say you have a bowl of water, right? And like we mentioned, a drop of najasa fell in it. And you add to that more than qullatayn. That's why the muallif mentioned kathir. Now the water is more than qullatayn. More than qullatayn. What is the hukam on that? Tahur. Why? What is the dalil? The dalil hadith of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, إذا بلغ الماء قلتين لم ينجسه شيء. طيب. So this hadith, and we mentioned Abu Dawud, Ibn Majah, Tirmidhi, Imam Ahmad in his Musnad, Imam An-Nisai, Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban, and many other A'imma and ulama, they mentioned this to be authentic. Tahawi and Ibn Khuzaymah and Ibn Hibban and Al-Hakim, Al-Dhahabi, Al-Nabawi, Ibn Hajar, Asqalani, and other A'imma all authenticated the hadith. So based on the Sahih hadith, now that the water became more than qullatayn, then that small amount of najasa did not bring taghayyir, did not change. Even if it changed the small amount, once it's a big amount, if it did not affect the big amount, then that goes back to being tahur. So that's one method. The muallif does mention غير تراب ونحي, yani not discussing about najasa on the earth or on ground or on rocks. There's a different ahkam for that. That we will discuss under the bab al najasat. We're not actually in the bab, we're in the bab al miyah, we're still in the bab of water. But he's just clarifying, don't take this from this bab and try to plug it into somewhere where it's not the hukam there. Tayyib. Or, so that was the first method. The second, that zal التغير النجاسة الكثير بنفسه. طيب. So we mentioned qalil, if it's small, less than qullatayn, even if there is no taghayyir, there is no change, it's still najis if najasa touches it, right? Kathir, if there is najasa and there is no change in kathir, it is not najis, right? If there is a large amount of water and the najasa changed its quality, so it's najis. But over time, by itself, the water cleansed. Yani that change is gone. طيب, you guys with me? So you have more than qullatayn, and in that large body of water, something changed due to najasa. But over time, that change is gone. So now that water is back to its original state. Baqi ala khilqatihi. It's back to being upon its original state. So now what's the hukam on that water? Tahur. Why? What was the sabab for it to lose its purification? Right? Why was it no longer purifying? It's because of the change that had happened in it. Not just because najasa came, because it's kathir. But now that that sabab is gone, the hukam is also gone. It's back to being tahur. واضحا. طيب. What is the dalil? Again, back to the same hadith. إذا بلغ الماء قلتين لم يجسه شيء. يعني إذا لم تغير فيها الماء فيها اللون أو ريح أو طعم كيف نقول هو نجس؟ يعني if those صفات had not changed based on the hadith we cannot say it's najis. So خلاص يعني this is واضحا بالدليل أيضا. طيب. Or if water is taken out نزيح يعني it's a part of it is taken out from the najasa is taken out from that water منه يعني from that najis water فبقي بعده كثير غير متغير. طيب. So you have a body of water which is كثير, not قليل, كثير, and some najasa falls in it and you take that najasa out and what's left is a large amount of water, not less than qullatayn. Less than qullatayn, if najasa falls in it and you take the najasa out, but because of that introduction of najasa, it stays najis. Okay? But now you have a large amount of water, you take that najasa out, what is left in it is kathir غير متغير, is a lot, and it does not have any of the three sifat changed. So now what is the hukam on that? Tahur. Why? Because it is ablagh, يعني it is more than qullatayn or more, and none of its sifat have changed, because when you took that najasa out, that change is gone. So now what is the hukam on it? It is tahur. So there is three methods, and again the dalil, same hadith. طيب. So we have three methods of water to become najis, and three methods of water to then go back to becoming tahur بأدلة clear inshallah. طيب. وإن شك في نجاسة الماء أو غيره.
وإن شك في نجاسة ماء أو غيره أو طهارته بنى على اليقين. وإن اشتبه طهور بنجس حرم استعمالهما ولم يتحرى، ولا يشترط للتيمم إراقتهما ولا خلطهما. وإن اشتبه بطاهر توضأ منهما وضوءا واحدا من هذا غرفة ومن هذا غرفة وصلى صلاة واحدة.
غرفة صح؟ غرفة خطأ. لأنه هو مفعول به، الغرفة هنا مفعول به منسوب. طيب. Now we get into the issue of shak, of doubt. If there is doubt in the najasa of water, أو غيره, يعني or other than it, then it is regarding its being tahur, then bana ala al-yaqeen, yani we established the hukam on what you have yaqeen, what you have certainty. What does that mean? Tayyib, you go to the park, and this happens a lot here, and you look at the ground, and it's a nice clean grass, no signs of najasa, nothing, right? And you go to make salah, and some brother is going to come up to you, and brother, some dog could have pee-peed there. Like, well, it could have. Dinosaurs could have lived there. There could be an alien ship underneath the, I don't know, but we don't go on could have, would have, might have, right? We go on yaqeen. Because when you get into waswas, then it'll drive a person insane. So what is the hukam? You go on what you have yaqeen. Let's say you have 2 bowls of water, and you go there and you see a dog sitting by them. And then you get this shak. Maybe the dog peed in them. Well, maybe. Did you see it? No. Do you smell it? No. Do you taste it? No. Do you see a change in color? No. Did anybody else see it? No. Khalas. Yaqeen is that water is tahur. You go on yaqeen. And this is very, very important principle. I mean, that's why he said, يعني أو غيره, يعني, and other than water as well. The principle here is, and as Sheikh Allama Abdul Rahman Nasir al-Sa'di, he says, al-asl fi miyah, يعني the asl in water, أو طهارة, in tahara, fil ard, about the earth, والثياب, on clothes, وحجار, on rocks. The asl in all of that is al-yaqeen, وهو الطهورية. The asl is they are tahur. Now you have to have yaqeen on it becoming najis for it to change that asl. Understand? What does that mean? If you have a thobe, right? The asl is it's clean. Until you have certainty that it is become najis, you assume it's clean. Maybe you weren't looking and your baby sat and peed on your clothes. Small amount. And you pick up the thobe, it's already dry, you don't notice it, you go make salah in it. Because you didn't know, Allah will not hold you accountable for that. Allah is that merciful. Allah does not hold you. Now, don't misuse this. Don't see a dog peeing and be like, oh, I didn't see anything. Obviously, you don't want to misuse anything. But this is the asl. And here you have the usul that we use in fiqh, which is al-yaqeen la yazulu bi-shak. Al-yaqeen la yazulu bi-shak. We use this all the time in many durus, we've used it. And I want to explain that there are adilla sariha, and clear adilla that these usul are developed from. It's not just some alim sat somewhere and said, you know what, I'm just going to come up with these qawaid in fiqh or usul in fiqh. No. Rasulullah ﷺ was asked by a sahabi that if I feel something like gas, but I'm not sure in salah, like I felt like maybe, what should I do? Rasulullah said, did you hear anything? Did you smell anything? Or to be clear that if you didn't, then you continue your salah. Right? So what does that tell you? That if you have some shak, some waswasa, you go on what you have yaqeen on. طيب? So based on these adillah and ahadith, we develop these usul, and from that this hukam is there, that if there is shak, then you go on what you have yaqeen for. And if you have yaqeen, now we are on a second issue, which is if there is yaqeen that there is najasa, but you cannot tell. And I mentioned this case scenario in the beginning of the durus, so now we can look at that, right? If you have two bowls of water, for sure, let's say you were afar, you saw a dog urinating, and you saw the urine hit one of them. So one of them is definitely najis. By the time you get to it, because they look the same, and because you walked a long way, you're not sure which one is which. So one of them, now again, these case scenarios are given to establish a methodology. And you may be like, oh, when would that ever happen? But scenarios will come up in life that will require these types of usul to be understood. So now you have an issue. You have one bowl that yaqinan, for sure, there is najasa in it. And it's less than qullatayn. And the other is yaqinan tahur, but you cannot tell between them. What do? And you have no other water there. In this case scenario, you don't have any other water. You cannot go to other water. It's the only water is there. One is najis, one is tahur. You cannot tell between them. What do? Perform tayammum. You perform tayammum. Why? Because if you made wudu with the first one and it was tahur, and then you made wudu with najasa, the hukam on that water, less than qullatayn, that has najasa in it, that is najis. Then your salah would be batala, because you're making salah with najasa on you. طيب? If it was the other way around, your salah would be fine if you had, but you don't know. And you cannot establish ibadat ala shak. Ibadat have to be established ala al-yaqeen. So now, can you bring yaqeen by making wudu with both of them? You cannot. So what do? You perform tayammum. And in tayammum you have yaqeen. Clear? واضح? طيب. Hope so. Next is if you have two bodies of water and one of them is tahir and one of them is tahur. Can you make wudu, established correct wudu with tahir water? No. You have to make it with tahur water. So now you have two bodies of water again. One of them is tahir, one of them is tahur. Tayyib? What do you do in this scenario? You cannot make tayammum because you have a different option here. What is the option here? To make wudu from both of them. Two methods. One method, as the muallif has given here, that you take one handful from one and one from the other. Just in case anybody else's matan mentions hada gharfatan, it should be tan, not tun, because it's maf'ul bihi, it should be mansub. Tayyib. So here you take one scoop from one bowl and you take one from the other. So if you're washing your hands, you wash from one, you wash from one. Neither one of them is najis, so it doesn't affect you. One of them will not benefit you because it's tahir, but the other will bring raf al-hadath here because it's tahur. So when you finish that wudu from both of them, one from here, in that method, at least once of your wudu has to be accordance to what is correct. You have yaqeen, you can make salah. Another way is you can make a complete wudu from one and a complete wudu from the other. That's fine as well, right? But you use both of them to make sure that you have yaqeen in what you have brought. Now, Imam al-Buhuti, and if you're going to study Za'd, one of the books you should all definitely get is Rawdatul Murbi'. Al-Rawdatul Murbi', which is the book of Imam Mansur al-Buhuti. Amazing book, classic book. Also, and if you want something more contemporary, then definitely the Sharh of Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen, Sharh al-Mumti' ala Zad al-Mustaqni. But anyway, al-Buhuti, he mentioned in Rawd al-Murbi', he says, وَقَالَ فِي الْمُغْنِي وَشَرْحِ. Tayyib, I want to make a point here. He didn't say man qala. He just said qala fil mughni wa sharh. Who is he talking about? This is why you should know ulama and books. Because then if you don't know who wrote al-Mughni and who wrote al-Sharh al-Kabir, then you won't know who is being discussed here. You guys know, right? Muwaffaquddin ibn Qudama and Shamsuddin ibn Qudama for al-Sharh. طيب. بغير خلاف. يعني that this mas'ala is without khilaf. That this mas'ala is ijma'an. By consensus. Dalil here is ijma' of the ummah, as mentioned here again. طيب. The last line we're going to do.
وإن اشتبهت ثياب طاهرة بنجسة أو بمحرمة صلى في كل ثوب صلاة بعدد النجس وزاد صلاة.
طيب, the last mas'ala is actually not related to water itself, but because it's related to the usul, it's been brought here, which is if you have thiyab, clothes. طيب? Thobe today we use for the man thobe, but thiyab in Sharia are general for clothes. For women, for the abaya. In the end, this is actually the thobe. What we call thobe today is called a qamis. طيب? In the istalah that's been used in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu in hadith, it's called qamis. Thobe comes for anything, any clothing. So if you have clothes where you have tahir and najis. Again, in clothing, you have no tahur because it doesn't do purification, right? And you are not sure which one is which. What do you do here? Let's say you have two pairs of clothing. I know for us, we all have a lot of pairs of clothing at home nowadays, mashallah, Allahumma barik lana. But let's say you're traveling and you have two pairs of clothing, right? And one of them for sure has najasa on it, for sure, yaqinan, right? And one of them doesn't, but you don't know which one is which. Okay, what do you do here? Pray naked? No, can't pray naked. You got to cover the awrah. You make salah twice, one in each. What does that do? Why? One of those salawat is going to be batala because one of those is najis. But one of them yaqinan is going to be correct, inshallah, may Allah accept it from us, because it's going to be in clothing that is tahir. And you have to bring yaqeen in your ibadat. So then, but I'll give you another example. Let's say you have 3 pieces of clothing, 2 of them are najis and you don't know which one is najis. How many salawat will you make now? 3. Whatever the number of najasat is, zada wahid, yani you increase 1 to it. Why? Because at least one salah has to be made yaqinan. One thing that is mentioned in some of the makhtutat that they've left out in the what is mu'tamidan, but I will mention here because it's mentioned in Al-Muqni' and Al-Iqna' as well, that the same thing is for muharrama. If your clothing is taken through haram, you stole a piece of clothing, somebody had it, you stole it, and you make salah in it, the mu'tamid of the madhab is your salah is batila. So if you have 2 thawbs and one of them you took through rishwa or through dhulm or through haram and you're not sure which one is which, you have to increase the salawat until you make salah in one that's not through haram. May Allah protect those people and guide them that all of their wealth is through haram. I don't know how they're making salawat. People nowadays, ajib, they go and they see somebody and they see them to be a foreigner or something that they can get over on, and they oppress them and take rishwa from them, and by force, and then they go home, they're like, I've really made out today. What have you made? You've taken haram to your house, you're putting haram in the stomach of your children, you're invalidating your ibadat. May Allah protect us and guide us. And these durus and this knowledge should take us towards taqwa and being careful of our ibadat and between halal and haram and understanding these ahkam. We'll end the dars today, inshallah ta'ala. And this is the end of the bab. So we will have a test, as we promised. In the end of a bab, there are tests. I have posted the questions for the test on the Zoom. Right? Okay, we're posting right now. Also, if somebody can post them, and then just give them, inshallah. For because of social distancing, unfortunately, since we can't have students here, we'll have to do this live. Otherwise, I would have passed out the tests for the students to fill out. Khair. So the test questions are going to be posted in Zoom as well as on YouTube as a comment. So what we want the students that are following inshallah on the Zoom or on YouTube is to answer them and email them back. There's an email address that will be posted in Zoom and on YouTube for you to send your answers back. If this video is being watched maybe years from now, this is the 1441 Hijri, we want you to still take the test, even if I don't actually grade it. Send it to the email. If I'm still alive and still checking, I'll still grade it. But the point of the test, and it's a very easy test. Subhanallah, I made it very easy. I thought of this test as something that my kids should have been able to answer without having sat in these durus. So that's how I made this test. So it's a very easy test, but the point is to check your comprehension. This is why you should have tests. I'm not going to fail anybody. The point is to gain that knowledge. Wa jazakumullahu khairan. Any questions?